All right, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to be talking about rhythm and some different things you can do when it comes to rhythm playing so that you're not just stuck strumming the same old boring chords. This is really designed to help you improvise when you're playing rhythm. So I've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to go through the first half of everything I played in the intro. If you'd like to learn the second half, download the tablature for everything and also the MP3 jam track so that you can practice putting it all together. You can get those things by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP465. All right, so before I jump into explaining where things are, let's take a listen to that first part of that again one more time just so we can get it in our ear, and then we'll start breaking it down. All right, so this song is played in the key of E minor, and the first three measures are all an E minor chord, but then on the fourth, it goes to an A major. And so if you listen to the bass line, for example, that's one E minor, two, there's three, then it goes to the A, and then goes back to the E minor. So that's what we're playing over. The keyboard will copy what the bass line is doing as well when you're listening to that jam track. So you've got that A major chord if you want to accent it, if you want to hit an A triad or something. You don't have to, but it's there, and at some points I will do that. I just wanted to call out the structure that we're working with. Okay, so the first thing, we're going to look at that. Now this comes in, the first one of these comes in on the 3, so it's 1, 2, 3. So when you're counting that in, don't start right on the 1 at the very beginning of the measure. So when you're counting it in, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It comes in there. Obviously, if you're a premium member, you'll have access to the on-screen tab viewer and you can follow it that way. But let's look at what's going on here. So I'm borrowing the first 4 strings here on the 7th fret, but I'm only playing strings 3 and 4. And I'm doing a hammer-on between the 7th fret and the 9th fret on the 4th string. So I'm just playing those 2 strings. I'm not playing like a full chord, a 3-note chord, just those 2 strings. And let's think about what's going on there. So I'm a big fan of playing out of chord shapes. Everything I do is related to a chord shape. Everything. Lead, rhythm, it's all chord shapes, and it's really 5 chord shapes. It's the 5 shapes out of the Cage system. That's why that's such a big deal, and I keep coming back to it. But when I'm playing up here, I'm picturing the E minor chord here using the A minor shape. So if we look at these 3 fingers, they're making the same shape you'd make if you're playing your A minor chord. That's why I call it the A minor shape. And so if I take my pinky away from that, I convert that A minor chord into an A minor 7. It's just got a little different feel. It's got a little more of a bluesy feel. You got that flat 7 in there. And so if I look at strings 4 and 3, that's what I'm playing there. So when I'm doing this little hammer-on, I'm just thinking about that little piece of that E minor chord that comes out of, or E minor 7 chord, which comes out of this A minor shape. Hopefully that makes sense. So all the stuff that we're going to be looking at is really connected back to chord shapes you already know. So 1, 2, 3. Then we hit it again. That time I didn't hammer on. And then I slide down here and go. Now let's look at this. This is a very cool little add-on to this A minor shape here. I know it's an E minor chord, but it's the A minor shape. So if we look at this little shape that I slid down to, it's between the 5th fret and the 7th fret. There's a series of boxes. That's how I think of it. So we're going to be on the 5th fret, 7th fret, 6th string, 5th string, and 4th string. You can connect that to this shape. So what that allows you to do then is play something here rhythmically, or play a lead here using something out of this chord shape, and then jump down into this to play a fill lick. And so when I go slide down into this, that's what I'm thinking about. Now this would also be minor pentatonic scale, I realize that, but I just like to break this thing up and connect the little pieces of the pentatonics to chord shapes. If you get nothing else out of this lesson, you can walk away with that, and that's a big deal, knowing that you've got the A minor shape and you've got this little box for playing fill licks or lead or whatever, connecting it back to that chord shape. Remember, it's the E minor chord, it's the A minor shape. Okay. So slide down to that 7th fret, 4th string, and then go down to the 5th fret, and then 7th fret, 5th string. And then the last note I played was the open D string like that. Now I could have played the note there, which is in the box I just showed you, but I was thinking I wanted to play something down here using this E minor shape. So I wanted to go ahead and get my hand down in this position. So I took advantage of the open string. So I went, and then I came down and played an E minor chord down here and played 6th string, and then did an upstroke on the 1 and 2 strings. Now, the irony is I actually didn't need this at all because the 6th string and the 1 and 2 string are just open anyway. But I wasn't, you know, this stuff goes by so fast. I was just thinking about chord shapes, and I thought it would be good to leave this in, even though if you watch back and watch me play that, you'll see that my hand does go down and make this E minor chord, even though I didn't really need to. I was in position, though, in my head into that spot. Okay, so then I come back and play same thing we already did out of that E minor 7 shape. And then I played strings 4 and 3 on the 7th fret, and then played the A chord there. Remember, that's the point in the song where it goes to that A. And I just played the A bar chord, A major bar chord there. That's where you bar on the 5th fret. Now, I did not use my finger to bar all 6 strings. I just played it like this. That's how I learned to play bar chords early on. It's probably not the most accurate way, but nobody's ever complained. I've never got one complaint from it. So that way you don't have to try and do this. It's just less comfortable to do that with your hand. I find it easier to play it like this. Okay, so now I came up and played this. And I got this from either Eric Clapton or Robert Cray. It's really more of a Robert Cray kind of thing, because he'll take a chord and he'll do this really heavy vibrato, and he's doing it with his left hand. I've always found that to be fascinating, and I'm such a huge fan of his style of playing. So it's the 9th fret, strings 4 and 3, and I'm not using a tremolo. Now, if you're not able to do this with your left hand, you can use a whammy bar or tremolo if you want that effect. Otherwise, you can just play the note straight. But that's how I'm playing it, and these notes are coming from, there's your A minor shape, right? It's just strings 4 and 3 from your A minor shape. And I followed it up with a fill lick from the same area here. So I go, so I just slid down to the 7th fret, and we go 7, 5, 7, 5, right out of that box. And then watch this. Came back down and did the 6th string, 1 and 2 string again, just like we did before. And then I followed that up with, okay, so what I did here, 4th fret 3rd string, slid into that 3rd fret 2nd string. Now, what are these two notes? Now remember, we're playing over this E minor thing, so we're thinking E minor. So these are just 2 notes from your E minor pentatonic scale. This would be pattern 2, right? And these are kind of like must-know notes for playing a bluesy thing. And it really doesn't matter what key you're in, as long as you relate it back to your E chord shape. So if we were playing in G, right? It's so useful and so bluesy, whether you're playing rhythm or lead. So I hit the E and then went, slid back down to the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, open, and then play the A chord there. Remember, there's the A part in the song. The 4th time we play the A. So that's just barring the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret. Okay, so now we get to repeat it again. Now what am I going to do this time? Well, this time we come up here and play. And what I'm playing here is that E minor 7 chord that I just talked about. E minor chord, take away your pinky, that's your E minor 7. So I play the chord, and then I take away my middle and ring finger, keep the bar there, and I play strings 4, 3, and 2. And then I put my fingers back down. Now what is this when I take my fingers away? This is like a little mini lesson, just this one thing. If you look at that, listen to that. That's a D chord. It's a D triad. Now you probably didn't hear it as a D because we were still in E minor mode. So when you have the E minor in the bass, you get a much different vibe there. It's a totally different chord. Why would you be able to play a D major triad over an E minor jam track? And I had to think about that. I didn't know that off the, I've done it. I would know instinctively to go there, but I didn't really understand the reasoning behind it. But then I thought about it and I thought, no wait, if there's an E minor chord, you can play the D major scale, right? And that would be E Dorian. I knew that much. And so then I thought, well, in that D major scale, you have the triad, you have the, you know, so that makes sense that the D major triad would work because those notes are all in the D major scale. Now, some of you are probably getting lost and you're like, dude, you're losing me here. All right, just, if that's you, just skip what I'm saying. I wanted to throw that in for people that are wanting to know that. But here's how you can get to it if you just want to use that effect in the future, whether you're playing rhythm or lead. Wherever your minor chord is, you just go down, take the root fret and go down 2 frets. So in this case, we're going from an E down to a D. And you can play that triad. You can work that into your lead, you can work that into your rhythm. So the way that I play that goes like this. Then it repeats. Then it go back to the A chord. Okay, so after that, I came up here and hit strings 1 and 2 and just slid down. Now that's 1 and 2 on the 12th fret. Why did I come up here? I was thinking chord shapes. I've got an E minor here, I've got an E minor here, I've got one here, I've got one up here, right? And this is obviously just a full octave higher than this, so strings 1 and 2. I'm playing them up here, 12th fret. So I hit that. And then I slid back into that same little lick, that little blues lick that I talked about, pattern to your minor pentatonic scale. So 3rd string, 2nd string. And then down to the 2nd fret, and then open 3rd string, and then a hammer on to the 2nd fret, 3rd string. So it's, and then after that, the open G string or the 3rd string, and then that same little 6th string, 1 and 2 string thing. So played it like that. And the last little lick, really cool little lick. Now I'm thinking about minor pentatonic scale for E minor pentatonic scale. That would be pattern 1 of your minor pentatonic scale for E. But you can do a hammer on open A string, open 5th string to the 2nd fret, and then we play the open 4th string. And then while I hit that, I'm going to hit the 2nd fret, 4th string. So you have, and then you play that open 4th string again, 3rd fret on the 6th string, and then your A chord. So all together it goes. All right, so I think that's a good stopping point for this part 1 video. In the part 2 video, we are going to go through the next little piece of this, which is actually fairly short, but there's also the MP3 jam tracks to practice, and then there's the tablature, so you get all of those things as a premium member. And if you're not a premium member, I would encourage you to at least go look at it. Go to activemelody.com and check it out. I've got over 11 years now worth of in-depth lessons like this. There's micro lessons, there's courses, there's really everything you need in terms of learning how to improvise and just sort of jam and have fun with the guitar. All right, we'll see you in the next video.